allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, late approval of the minutes.
Make a motion.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. First resolution we have up is resolution adopting the County of Oswego Local Law Number 4 of 2023 entitled Local Law Amending Local Law Number 1 of 2022 regarding income qualifications for partial tax exemptions of certain real property owned by eligible persons 65 years of age or over.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
first and second, any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next up is resolution number 2, resolution authorizing the chair of the legislature to set minimum bids and replace bids in the name of the county sheriff's sale at Addis Ethanol Fulton. We have a list of all the equipment listed in here. There's a couple more pieces, I guess they're going to be added to the.
We may do a supplemental execution. We've located some additional stuff.
Right.
So that would be included in the same sheriff's sale. The sheriff's sale will be public, be advertised in about 30 to 60 days out.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we authorize the chairman to execute this.
I'll second.
Okay, with first and second. Any discussion on it? Brian?
You said the minimum bid. What's the minimum bid?
We don't know what the minimum bids are. The chair is to consult with the purchasing director and the department heads. There's a possibility that the county may bid in if there's a county use for some of this equipment. If you have a $30,000 piece of equipment and the only bid is $2,500, we don't know. Place some reserves on that. We want to make sure the county is protected as far as what it can realize.
So we're not setting the minimum.
Well, he hasn't done it yet. This authorizes the chair to set the minimum bids.
Okay. I understand. Good enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think isn't Sean Walker and somebody going out there to look over the equipment?
Several departments have expressed interest in some of the equipment, and there may be public interest from contractors in some of this equipment as well.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. Next up, we have a resolution fixing time and place for a public hearing relative to proposed County of Oswego Local Law Number 8 of the year 2023 entitled Local Law Establishing the Department of Workforce Development. And that'll be on the 14th of December at 2 o'clock.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
Okay, first, Rich.
Yeah, I wish to advise the committee. I received some comments back from Rachel after this was submitted for today. We'll make an amendment and circulate it for the packet for consideration next Thursday. They're very minor. One has to do with the federal WIOA funding and the executive director title, and the other is the style of the name. I think there's one more. So we'll have the amended local law for the packet on Friday. But I'd like to talk to Rachel before I finalize that.
Any other discussion? Right.
And the purpose of this is? I mean, I don't know why strategic planning can't do this, but why are we doing this? Is it, who's?
Okay. This is, currently all of our employment and training services are underneath the Department of Social Services.
Right.
And they do their jobs from the perspective of a public welfare agency. And they use federal money that comes with a lot of criteria for people who can use it, which is very limited. In order for our our employment and training people to take advantage of this new era with Micron coming in and other businesses and helping residents to get new training and students to get on, develop career paths and curriculum for them, working with the schools. What we would like to do is separate DET out from underneath DSS, establish it as its own department. You're not populating a whole new department, it's the same people. But it will remove them from some of the federal regulations so that we can set our own local criteria to meet our local needs. That's the whole purpose of doing this.
So we're just going to create another.
But it is a
Another
department.
form of, another form of government, and just adding more to the, to the government.
You're not adding more. It's the
Creating
public
another
welfare
government
purposes.
department.
The
Another government department.
public welfare purposes of the federal money will stay with DSS. The things we can choose to do to meet our own local needs will be in the new department. Again, you're not populating it with new people. It's just separating the staffs out according to their the duties they had and being able to free them up to do more. They're working on bringing CDL training to the county. They're working on bringing the Onondaga County's version of Pathways to Apprenticeship into Oswego County because there's been an identification that we don't have enough people in our unions to meet the demand that's coming up. So this is going to focus employment and training efforts in an economic development perspective rather than a public welfare perspective. And to do that, we need to create some separation. And we'll have a department that's directly answerable to the legislature rather than up through a chain of command through DSS, considering the importance of workforce training over the next 20 years.
Okay.
Obviously, the current workforce development is not very effective.
You can get rid of that?
We continue to see poverty grow in Oswego County. And it's time to teach people other than how to write the name in cursive and memorize their social security number. So
we're going to eliminate our current workforce development.
no, they'll meet the federal requirements so that people can still sign up for their public assistance. Show that they might want to work.
But I won't be in favor of it on the floor, but
Will this allow
just
people on
creating
public,
more things.
will this allow people that are on
People
public
more jobs.
assistance that want to go further than what they offer out there, and will this allow them to
Yes.
move into that program?
Yeah.
That's a big plus.
This is to target the people who are work eager, not just the people who want to be on welfare and have a work search obligation to meet.
That's a step up.
Yes,
I just want to point out, if Oswego County can do half of what Onondaga County did with Pathways to Apprenticeship, that's a real good thing, because they're really doing a great job in Syracuse with it. So.
Any other discussion?
Well, I'd just like to say to Frank, my initial thought was the same as yours, that you're growing government, but that's not the case after doing the research. It's like the same pot, but then it's being separated out so it can be done more effectively, because it's not working right now.
So you're not going to hire a director.
Then that
There is a
additional-
director.
There's already one,
There's already one, you're not going to hire a new one.
No.
You're not going to hire an assistant.
so really your objection isn't a good objection to this, because it's not growing government.
I'll read it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, resolution number 4, the resolution authorizing budget modifications for consulting agreement with Alex Volkowicz concerning Addis ethanol Fulton property. It's in the amount of $10,000. We already know what this is going to be.
You're just moving money now, right?
Looking for
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Have a first and second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, resolution number 5, the resolution authorizing execution of a 1-year lease extension by and between the operation of Oswego County Incorporated and the County of Oswego for Board of Election offices.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have first
Second.
and second. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
This is to,
Frank?
Yeah, what are we paying? What are we paying on our lease? Out there, is that another?
Extends it on the same
The
term,
total is about 38 a year.
extends it on the same terms for 1 year because Plymouth Street's not ready.
What is the amount of it?
The rent,
38.
38,000.
I think that's 30, I think that includes the rent and utilities.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
And that, I think it's the past year. Bunner is scheduled to be done by the end of 24.
Hopefully. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next up, Board of Elections.
We have the new machines over there, the training machines, you can go over and look at them. They got ballots over there you can run, put your hands on them before, they're out there for everybody to use. We've had very good experience with them through early voting. All the inspectors really liked them during training. So you're welcome to go over and
Okay,
take a look at them.
after the rest of the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I just noticed the typo in the resolution on Board of Elections. I don't know if we need to go back and revote or anything unless there's any objections. The result said that the lease commences January 1, 24 and expires January 31st, 24, which would sound good for a month. I think that second January is supposed to be in December.
December.
Yeah. If there's any objections, we'll change that when it goes through the legislature.
Should be all right.
Got questions we can ask Board of Elections? No.
Go ahead.
Okay, several things. Early voting is going good.
Yes,
Second question is in regarding to the redistricting lines that have been redrawn. There was a statement made that Board of Elections commissioners agreed with the lines that were being drawn. Is that fact or fiction?
fiction,
Okay.
haven't
Is there
even
a
seen
chance
that.
that, I know, I understand.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that we can schedule a meeting between the minority caucus and the 2 elections commissioners and the person that is doing the district lines to sit down and look at the district lines, redistricting lines?
We don't have anything,
Yeah, I know, but you have to be there to say, because he's saying that you guys agree with him. And I would like you guys to see what they're gonna be before we can say that we're gonna do it.
well, I think if that's the case, it should be not just you guys, it should be the whole legislature to look at them.
Well, I'm just talking about the minority, the minority whip and the minority leader. Okay, and there'd be the same thing with the majority whip and the majority leader. If they want to be there, then that's,
Okay,
we're more happy, but it won't be until, somewhere in the middle or the end of, November, because I know you got elections that are gonna be keeping you quite busy
better move
for a
it
while.
out to December.
But would that, you guys would be welcome for that? Okay.
I guess so.
And I just, there's things that are being said that, and lines are being drawn, and we need to look at them all. Everybody, the 2 leaders, the 4 leaders of the caucuses have to sit down and have a discussion. We can't just say, well, this is what they're gonna be. I'm sorry, it's not right.
I think if we're gonna have a meeting like that, it should be up and down to the legislators.
Yeah,
exactly.
See what happens.
I mean, I don't know how many districts are gonna be changed, it's gonna be a few, I'm sure. I know they wanted to make some changes to
Our only concern is that we're not creating extra legislative districts,
You mean
with Palermo with 4
election districts.
election districts. And we have to make sure where we have villages, that they still have their own districts, because you can't give a village petition to somebody that lives in the town. Those type of things is our main concerns.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions?
But, like I said, I still think we need to make sure that it's open for all legislators, not just
Right.
a couple.
And we can do that in December.
We don't need 4 men in a room like they do downstate. We don't need that.
Maybe at our December meeting, have them come in, go over it then.
Schedule will be there.
Okay, the county clerk had to leave, strategic initiative department is not here. Do we have anything with real property?
Oh, we got some things from real property, yeah. Nothing really in the office, but last week I did go to county director's real property conference. So I just wanted to share with you all some things that I learned at that conference. We had a presentation on special districts by Michael Ritzman of Hodgson Russ LLP. They taught us how to form a special district, the proper procedures to go through to form a special district, which sounds like it's not something that a lot of our local communities are actually following to go through all of the processes for forming a special district. So it was important. I think I learned a lot from that so that I can help advise on that in the future, and in the event that the county ever forms a countywide special district, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on the concept now. There was also a presentation by Jeff Neal of Albany County. He's the Director of Finance on the Article 11 foreclosure process, which is not something I'm too involved with. The Treasurer's Office tends to take that on, and then I only see it after we foreclose. But it was still nice to see that whole process, how that's supposed to go as well. We also had an update from the State Real Property Office. Met the new State Director, Rachel Inglesby. Joe Gerber, who's their counsel, gave some update on some pending legislation that might be of interest to some people to know that this is what's being pushed through right now. The Assembly is going to redefine, or all this is pending, nothing is passed. The Assembly is going to redefine the service member to include enlisted members of the military for the purposes of getting veterans exemptions. Currently, you have to have been discharged and have a DD-214 to be considered a veteran for that exemption. This would allow service members who have re-upped and served for 10 years to be eligible. A Senate bill would allow the 459C disability exemption to use a workers' comp award letter. Currently defines a list of things that can prove you're disabled, and this is just something they're adding to that list. Another Assembly bill would allow election inspectors, poll clerks, election coordinators, and those types of folks to deduct their income for the purposes of receiving STAR. Nothing that directly involves us, but it's something that is to try and push that as being maybe something people would be more interested in doing if it wasn't going to negatively impact them from getting that income. And similarly, the Senate is also trying to pass a STAR Credit Bill of Rights, which creates a state office of the STAR Ombudsman to educate the public on the STAR credit, because there's still a lot of misinformation out there about the STAR credit and how it differs from the STAR exemption, which is the state legislature seems to think that there needs to be more oversight on that program as far as what Department of Tax and Finance is putting out. We also had our association's business meeting. We heard from the various reporting committees, and there was some interesting information brought about by the training advisory group, which brought up the fact that there's a high turnover of county directors, my position around the state, and probably about half the membership is newer. I'm one of them. I've only been 2 years so far, so they brought up that there's a high level of education requirement for this position around the state, and the same goes for the assessors. There's a lot of courses that need to be taken for assessors to become certified, and there's just a lot of challenges with getting that in. And there's a lot of lack of education access within the colleges, because there used to be kind of real estate degrees that you could get in colleges that aren't really offered anymore, which actually it sounds like this workforce development office might be a good fit for pushing some of those things too, because there's a lot of lack of
kind of other real estate positions like data collectors and things like that in the community. We also had an Assessors Association meeting on Thursday, last Thursday. David Barnett from GAR Associates presented on a website that they have called PROS, Property Record Online System, which is a competitor to our existing website that we have that offers real property information. He made the bold claim that if we wanted to switch to it, they would honor whatever our existing contract was. But I don't think it's something that we would want to switch to at this time, just because there's a lot of other integrations with that website that we have currently. And while the PROS system looked nice, I don't know if it was necessarily taxpayer friendly.
What's the acronym on that? GAR?
GAR. Unfortunately, I don't know what it stands for. I thought it was some sort of like government assisted something, but it's not. I think it's people's names actually. But they do reassessments, revaluations. They're doing the city reassessment right now.
That's what I was going to ask. I got a letter in the mail requesting all this information, and I'm like, verify. I don't know who they are or where they even come out.
Yeah, they did all of the data collection for the city right now, and so the letters they just sent out were to verify the information they collected. So if something's wrong, you would want to respond to them and let them know they have the wrong number of rooms or square footage or improvements or something like that, because that's what they're going to be using for.
You don't know what they use for square footage, do you?
The square
Are
footage?
they using just the house, or are they using a house with a garage if it's attached?
If the garage is attached, it is recorded as square footage, attached garage square footage. It's not considered living area though.
Right.
So there would be a difference in that. And they do the square footage from the outside of the building.
Right, they just want to take around it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think they did most of this from aerial imagery though.
Yeah, they did.
That's what he said, yeah. So yeah, I think it was a constructive meeting and a demonstration of their system, but ultimately I don't think it's something we should be interested in, but if I'm wrong, let me know. They will be coming out with a site, at least for the city of Oswego, so we could at least see what that looks like when that comes out. There's only one county that has this system though, that's the Niagara County. That's all I had. It was a lot, but there you go.
Anybody have any more questions?
Well, I'd like to thank you for your help on the constituent that I had that didn't receive the star credits. Remember the check?
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to get it.
Oh, did you manage to get somebody in the
From
state?
your help and the treasurer's help, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Public Defender Department.
Yes, I had in 2 new hires coming in. One will be a first assistant. He should be starting within 2 weeks, and then the senior assistant, who should also be starting in 2 weeks. My office is still down on attorneys, but even with these 2 hires, I'll be about 6 short. But we're working on it. I think since the pay advertisement's been adjusted, there's been a lot more interest, probably 3 to 4 times more interest than before. So, I also have a social worker coming back. We had one who didn't work out, and I got another one coming in. So I should be fully staffed except for attorneys, but within a couple of weeks. As to taking cases throughout the county, the plan right now is by the end of the year, we'll be taking all the cases, as long as hiring, goes along. So hopefully by the end of the year, we will be, taking all the cases throughout the county. And I think shortly after that, you'll see a great savings from what you're paying to assign counsel. That should really drop off significantly.
How many cases you seeing now?
Right now we have about 160. I have 2.5 attorneys. So open ones are probably each attorney's covering about 40 cases right now. So even though it's not a lot of cases, it's a lot for the attorneys. I do have to worry about the state standards of them, because if an individual attorney is doing cases, it can be seen as ineffective assistance of counsel. But you're handling so much, you can't really devote your time to your client. So I have to watch that with the number of lawyers I have. But with the lawyers coming in, that should greatly reduce that burden, and then we should be able to start picking up more cases.
So out of that 160,
About 100 are open right now. We usually run about,
that's a percentage of how many cases? Are you doing 20% of the cases? Are you doing 50% of the cases?
we're doing about 20% of the cases. What the state does is, if you do an arraignment, even if the case, say, we're conflicted out, you get hours for that, just like, so misdemeanors are 6 hours, deemed 6 hours. Regular felonies are deemed 18 hours, and then violent felonies are 35 hours. That's the minimum that an attorney will spend on it. So even if we just do the arraignment, we catch that hours. So we gotta watch our yearly hours on each attorney, make sure we don't go over. I know it's been hard on assigned counsel trying to stay within those limits. But if we take too much with the amount of attorneys we have, a client can down the road say he wasn't adequately represented because the attorneys have too much work to do. If that makes sense to you.
It's helpful. Thanks.
Anybody have any other questions? Frank?
Just a few concerns and some questions. You're saying 2.5 attorneys is all you have now? But
Yeah, I have one attorney, he's been out, when I hired him, he had told me he had a cruise, and he's been out for 8 weeks. He'll be back. I just hired the senior assistant from the DA's office, and he will come in after he's currently conducting the trial. He'll come in after that. And I just hired it's still subject to finance, but I have a first assistant who's supposed to start within a couple of weeks.
We okayed the salary for senior
Yeah.
last month. That
Right.
he wasn't hired, or is he?
No, he's the one, he's doing the trial, the homicide trial for the DA's office right now. So he won't come in until after that.
Now, the first assistant, they're required to live in Oswego County.
Yes, he's moving in today.
Okay. The other concern I have is with the integrity of the office and the legislative body, with the news story of the issue of communication gap between public defender's office and the court systems. How are we handling that, and are we?
There hasn't been any real issues. I mean, I know there's that one story, but even that, we were already working with the other attorney on that case. We actually had all the cases settled out. All I had to do was go in and get it done. So, there can be little hiccups here and there, but there hasn't been anything major.
Okay, so we're not going to do anything different than what we have. Because you said we were working, but the judge said that you weren't. But that's the story. But okay, the other.
Well, the judge said we should file a notice of appearance, but you can't really file a notice of appearance until you have it all worked out with the other attorney, and that was the hiccup. So there was nothing for us to file at that time.
Okay. The other thing is, I think Phil in the job applications, it says that per public officers law, candidate must be a legal resident of Oswego County. That's for all the public defenders.
I think it's just for the public defender in the first.
Not according to.
The local law was changed for just the public defender and first public defender. I don't know if the civil service job descriptions have been revised since that amendment.
Now we'll get them updated.
Originally,
So these have to be updated because it says senior assistant public defender says must live in Oswego County.
Okay, so we'll talk to our HR and get those changed.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I was just wondering, since you're down attorneys, are you doing any of the
hands-on work yourself, handling cases yourself, or?
Yeah, I do, arraignments, I also have to run an office, I don't have any supervisory interference in my office. So, and, you know, we also are working on something, I can't really talk about too much now, but, with the clients coming in and meeting with them and everything, we have to be around for that, so.
So not a lot. So.
No, I mean, it's an administrative position, and with running that and doing interviews, going to meetings, interviewing clients in the office after we pick them up. It's not much hard to handle it.
Thank you.
That's what it says. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Lou, okay, and that's probably what, what it says here, the public defender's office functions under the administrative supervision of the county. The public defender is responsible for the supervision of staff employed by the public defender, and the incumbent does related work as required. So,
Sounds like that's what he said.
so he doesn't have to handle any cases. Okay.
Anybody else have anything else? If not, we're looking for appropriate motion. Adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.